D&D from A to Z, spells for you and spells for me. We will see what we will see today. Locals galore and monsters roar, nerds adore forevermore. Let's explore some ancient lore. Hey, hey. Hello, welcome to the Alphabetical DM. I am the titular Alphabetical DM. I'm here to discuss what limited knowledge, admittedly, of role-playing games I have, specifically with regards to D&D, and specifically with regards to these 4 things, I suppose. If this is your first time, welcome to episode 9. That's a weird episode to jump in. Why wouldn't you start at the first one? Or wait until episode 10 until I work the kinks out? Because there's going to be some kinks in this one, like what I'm doing right now. I don't know. I'm winging it. I don't have a script like these fancy pants other D&D talking people. I don't edit this. I record it and I upload it, and that's it. Yes. Fascinating. Things I should say at the top. Let's see. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I did have a list. You know what I could do? And I think I can do it here. Join me as I see, I do have notes. It's just I don't look at them. Join me as I literally pour forth from my mind the role-playing game knowledge I possess, such as it is. See, that's one thing I'm supposed to say at the top, and yet didn't. Another thing, which I wasn't going to forget this, is that I should say just about everything I will say today will be opinions. So please, I beg of you, keep that in mind. Without further ado, let's jump into today's. I actually didn't do that on purpose, despite the Billy Madison styleness of it. Let's jump into today's. I almost did it again, on purpose that time. Oh, God. See? Editing sometimes is good, but you're not going to get it, so tough. Trying not to swear. Yes, today's main subject is Session Zero. From zero to hero. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with D&D, first of all, another interesting choice that you're hopping in episode 9 on a D&D related channel. Good for you, you're a weirdo and I love you. Session 0, I suppose it's not universal that every DM will do it, but I do believe it's something that is a very, very good idea, and not doing it can offer a lot of headaches that doing it will remove. So basically, it's a session where you and your group meet. You discuss, in very general terms, how the game will be run. Period, full stop. I'm going to get into some of the specifics here of my personal way of doing things. And there can always be some changes to this and to you running your session zeros that if things don't work, you can adjust them on the fly. That's one of the beautiful things of D&D, is that you could have 10 different game masters with 10 different session zeros, and they're all going to be different, and none of them are wrong. Unless they are wrong. There are maybe some things that are wrong. Not doing one has more potential for wrongness than doing one. So let's say that at the very least. Okay, so character creation. I sort of put this at the top, because that's, without a character, you're not playing. I like to fill out the numbers of the sheet together, but have the sort of general idea. The players will have that going in. They're not going to show up not knowing what they're going to do. The other thing I do, which some people don't, definitely if you're in an adventure league or someone who is new, you might want to do this either. I allow races and classes from any source. It doesn't have to be official source, with the understanding that if it's from, say, the dreaded D&D wiki, where things are very unbalanced quite often, I will take that and revise it As I said with my players on the campaign that I'm going to be starting in a couple of weeks, um, they should know that because those are untested for the most part, especially compared to the official ones, the possibility exists that I will nerf and tweak them more um, to be on the safe side, so they might end up being underpowered. So you might find one that's very cool, but then after the sort of tweaks I do to it, maybe you're better off if you don't like those tweaks, just picking something from the official sources, which happened a little bit. With the characters with the players I have now, for example, it's just I like the ability because I like to pull from these sources too when I'm playing. Like I played a fairy tale princess, and I played a pile of bones, and things like that that you can't find in the official sources. I like to go outside the box a little bit. Not that you can't have fun in the box by any means. Generation. Oh, okay. I could probably do a episode by itself. In fact, I think I have. So, or have one planned rather. I'll just do this very vaguely. I like point by. Why don't we have a look at point by? So, you'd pick your race or a custom, and then you'd sort of adjust these, and you'll see as I move them, your points to spend are going to go up as you move things around. So that's not unusual. People use time. It's my favorite to use. Now the difference being, when I have my everything set, a little tweak I decided to do this time around is that whatever scores your highest, so it'll probably be a here it is. So it'll probably be a 17 because that's the highest that you can get. So whichever score is going to be your main score gets bumped up to an 18. Traditionally, you can't have a score above 20. That's where the cap is. But for this score, the cap will now be 22. Secondarily, whichever score is your lowest, so it'll maybe be an 8 or a 10, somewhere in that range, is bumped down to a 7. Bumped down? Yeah, that still makes sense. And that can't be raised by an ability score improvement, because I want them to be very, very good at something, and I want them to be not very good at something, because that adds the variety that I think makes it more fun. So that's sort of a way of generating your ability scores of my own devising, my own insane devising. Feats, I give a free one at level 1 to match their backstory, hopefully. And then leave that as an option in place of ability score improvements. Questionnaire, we'll do an episode on that at some point. I think it's only 3 questions for the player, but then it's like 10 questions for the character, to sort of give me an idea of some things, which that'll be a fun episode, actually. I'm very pleased with how that questionnaire came out. Complete, yeah. So some people don't fill out things like eye color or hair color or of like I want everything filled out on your character sheet, because sometimes I'll use these little weird things that some DMs don't pay attention to just for poops and giggles. Backstory. So by most rules, you'll get a background that will give you some things like gold, maybe some starting equipment or proficiencies. I throw those out just because there's only a limited number of them, and they're sort of very set in their ways, one of the things I want players to be able to do, which is the same reason why I open it up to any source, is because I want them to have free reign with their backstories and not be constrained by any of the pre-written backgrounds. So I throw those out, and then I base the gifts that they get. I'll give them maybe a proficiency, I'll give them some starting gold, maybe I'll give them a cool little strange magical item, or an ability, a once a day ability. It's really going to depend on a case by case basis, and I'm going to base all that on their backstory that they write. So if they put some hints, or subtle or otherwise, in their backstory of things that might fit this sort of idea, these gifts as I call them, maybe I'll use that. So leveling. Okay, yeah. So I do milestone, and then I sort of came up with like this idea for in case they miss sessions. So it's just I don't want people who miss a bunch of sessions to be on the same level with the others because that's kind of not fair. That if you miss 3, 4 sessions, so I've sort of developed this idea. I won't read it, but that's just right there. And then to catch up, you just have to make a couple sessions in a row. So it's sort of a give and take there. That's something I'm trying out this time around. Inspiration, yeah, okay, so this is another new one. I'm bad at tracking it, just in terms of someone does something really cool. I'm sort of so in the moment of enjoying the cool move that they did that I forget that I have the ability to give them something to indicate how cool that was. If you're unfamiliar with inspiration, you can hand them in to re-roll a roll. So I'm just going to give everyone one at the beginning of the session. And if they don't use it that session, I'll give them one the next session, and they'll have two. Normally, you're only supposed to have one. Quite often, that's the rule for inspiration. You can only have one at a time. But now I'm giving them two with the ability to hand in both at once and roll 3 times. So that's sort of a cool little, when you really, 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 yeah, really, really, really want to make that roll, that's going to be a good thing. Dark vision. Oh yeah. So after watching every Macoval video, running the game, I've sort of come to the determination that dark vision is not the be-all, end-all of seeing in the dark. You do occasionally need to light a torch. It's going to be beneficial for you for those reasons. Okay, this is a new one we just started doing towards the end of my last campaign. Magnificent 7. So when you roll a 7 on an attack, it's probably not going to hit unless it's a really easy low level thing and you're a higher level. But if you describe a way in which you magnificently hit this target, and I really like it, it does max damage. So, just sort of a cool little thing to get the players into. When a player kills something, I'll have them describe how they do so, and this is just adding to that. It's adding another scenario in which they can do that, which I feel helps get them into their characters more when they can do stuff like that. Crit and fumble. I have a D200 table that I use for that. It's got some really fun stuff on it. I usually I will just roll it because I can push a button and it just rolls it. So that crafting, I'll leave this as an option, similar to the backstory, in that if they work something into the backstory that their characters like to make, it's never like weapons or armor or anything like, or magic items. It's just more, well, it could be magic items. Attunement. Attunement, I kind of ignore a little bit unless I specify. Sometimes it does make sense to have it, but I do it on a case-by-case basis. Material components, similar. I ignore it except for the ones that have a cost associated with them. Some of these things are just things that a lot of DMs do, so not really blowing anything away. Okay, so here's another one I came up with. Repeated party roles. So you don't want a locked door to be picked by 7 characters because that's ridiculous. So there is the help action, but that's just an advantage fest where it's advantage, 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 I help, and that sort of doesn't make sense either. So I came up with this idea that anyone can help. So one person is going to roll. Any is going to decide to do the thing, the picking the lock, the breaking down the door, the checking up for a pulse, whatever the skill is that's going to be used. So one person is going to be the person doing it. Makes sense. That's how things work in life. One person does the thing. Someone can help. In fact, anyone can help. More than one person can help. And if any of the helpers or the person doing the roll rolls a 1, it's an automatic fail. So, say it's the picking of the lock. Use that as an example because it's the one most often used, and you're helping the person with that action. If you roll a 1, your help screws them up to the degree where you fail because it was so bad. Now, if your help is a 20, it's such an amazing help that you shine such incredible light on the situation that, of course, they succeed. If the helper is lower but not a 1, it's just, you're sort of standing there not really doing much of anything. If the helper rolls higher than the person, they can add +1 for each person helping, or their proficiency if they're proficient in that role. And ideally, for the most part, people helping would only be those who are proficient anyways, because it doesn't really make sense if you are, say, not proficient in the ability to pick locks. How are you helping with that? So, a lot of case-by-case basis with this, which is fine. That's a lot of the things. If things weren't case-by-case basis in D&D, the rule book would be, this thick. My hand just keeps going. You can't see because it's off the screen, but it's continuing to move upwards at an incredible speed. Game style. Okay, so that's just some of the rules there. Game style. This is one of my main ones. The player DM contract, which we'll do a separate video about. Actually, a lot of this we probably will player versus player sharing. I guess we can sort of just skip some of that because a lot of that will. Some of these will be individual episodes. Min-max multiclass, yeah. Like some of these I know I have episodes planned devoted specifically to, so I don't want to go in too much detail. Notes taker, yeah, so I'd like to have someone. Traditionally, it ends up being me who does the notes, anyways. Which I know everything, being the DM, story-wise, that is. So it sort of makes sense that I'm the one who does the recaps. But I also wouldn't mind a little help on that. So I do offer that if someone volunteers to do so, they will get proficiency on intelligence-based checks during and while they are taking the notes. Not physically while, but as long as they are doing that. Mini mover, yeah. Our setup is such that it's hard for everyone to move, and I'll show my setup at some point, I'm sure. It's hard for everyone to get up and move. It's sort of in a location a little bit away, like it's not on a round table. So it helps to have someone move all the minis for us, so I give them advantage on initiative rolls, whoever volunteers to do that, because it's something they have to do. Rolling, where everyone can see common triggers, which is this is also in the questionnaire. I've got a question about that. Fun more important than rules. That's the sort of type of DM I am. Cell phones, yeah, that's definitely a pet peeve. That if you're on your phone not paying attention, it's disrespectful. Being late, another, yeah, not a big fan. I'm never late, just sort of period, full stop in life. So I like to get going when I can. Rules debates, they're fine, but if it's something that can't be solved immediately, I like to save it for after the game, or we'll do it in the Facebook group that I create for each campaign. Questions are good, as long as they pertain to what we're doing. Questions in general, say for the end. That's a lot of my sort of mindset. Is that things that are going to prevent you from playing D&D can be saved for after we're done playing D&D. That sort of idea. Don't forget your character sheet. Take a picture of it. Yeah, that's a good pro tip there. Take a picture of your character sheet. Knowledge and ready. And that's another one that takes time when you're new, but I have lots of like little, because it's what I do for a living, like organization-y type stuff. I've got like lots of little tips and tricks and mechanics and forms and little things that will help someone organize their notes, so that when the turn comes around to them and they want to cast a spell, I say, okay, what does that spell do? They might not know it off the top of their head. That's ridiculous that you're going to know every single spell, but they'll be able to say, oh, okay, and they'll look down and it is there. It's right there. It's not, oh, okay, looking through book, you know. Be ready. Because again, that helps in playing D&D if you are ready to do so. Let's move on to, okay, so that was fun, eh? Session 0. I could, and I do believe I did, put this, put this in the Underdark down below, where you could take a copy if you like. Oh yeah, and I should say on that note, so I took this list from Reddit. Someone made a pretty incredible list. You'll see a lot of similarities. I condensed it down, removed things that I didn't need, revised. So I'd actually maybe even recommend you do the same. This list is much longer. I can guarantee there'll be things in it you'll never use or need, but if you take this rather than mine, plugging this and not mine, no, that's silly, but whatever, I don't care. What you could do is do what I did. It's a lot of work, I will admit, but it's fun work. Take this massive list, condense it down to one that will fit your campaign, and I think you'll be very, very happy with the result, as I was. Let's move on to the rating of things. Burnt up. Yeah, okay, so that was a dragon, and we're talking adult bronze dragon. I think we're almost done with the adult dragons. I think we're almost through them. Similar to the, what were the locations that we did a lot of abbeys in a row there. So I think we're almost done the dragons. Is there other, I was actually trying to think of this the other day. Will there be other times where I run into a group of monsters where they're all similar because they all start with something like adult? I think it's just dragons that do this. I could be wrong though. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, what does this do if I push this?
Bronze dragon.
Ooh, I don't know if that picked up on the mic actually. Maybe it did. It was a very powerful sounding woman saying bronze dragon. She didn't say adult though. Let's push it again.
Bronze dragon.
Pretty good. Okay, got a challenge rating of 15, very strong. Some quintessential dragony amphibious. Okay, that's bite, claw, tail, frightful presence. Not seeing anything so different. Lightning breath, repulsion breath. That's a little different. 30-foot cone. Ooh, 19 strength save. 60 feet. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Change shape. Polymorphs into a humanoid or beast that has a challenge rating no higher than its own. Holy shit. Shoot. Trying to stay PG. It's higher rating than its own or back into true form. So that's actually very impressive because there are some capabilities, class features, legendary action. There are some challenge rating 15 or lower beasts that are, very, very impressive, and humanoid as well. Wow, that's pretty cool. That of its abilities, I would say, has the most potential to do cool stuff, and I like it very much. Layer actions, fog, thunder. Yeah, we're getting some normal ones. It's fascinating that these dragons have these regional effects, where the weather is different, where their lair is. War machines actively oppose tyranny, and many bronze dragons yearn to test their mettle by putting the size and strength to good use. Okay, so if you need help from a dragon, sounds like potentially bronze dragon is a way to go. Okay, so rating wise, to be honest, going into this, I didn't think it was going to get a very high rating because it's just, a bronze dragon. I didn't know it had this change shape ability. That really just opens it up an incredible amount to possibilities that you could use it for. So, I'll go a 4.126345. Here's some pictures of one. Yeah, they're pretty cool looking. Oh yeah, really, really very cool looking. Let's move on to spell. Oh, got a good one here today. Animate Dead. Loves it. I think right off the bat we go. Do we go 5 out of 5 without even reading it? Okay, let's reserve. Let's reserve what we're gonna say, but potential for 5 out of 5 in this. Spell creates an undead servant. Choose a pile of bones. Or a corpse of a medium or small humanoid within range. Spell imbues a target with a foul mimicry of life. Now, this raises the question, is this spell evil? Now, it says foul mimicry of life. That's some evilness right here, I suppose. Bonus action to mentally command the creature made with the spell. Multiple command all at the same time. Okay, so that's good. You don't need to use multiple actions or bonus actions to control many. Helping with that army of undead. Guard. Creatures under your control for 24 hours. Stop. Okay, so you have to cast the spell again after the end of 24 hours. So you just cast it every day, I guess, and it's always with you. And higher levels, 4 more of them. Okay, so pretty amazing. And it is necromancy, so is that evil? I don't know. I kind of lean towards most people will see it as evil, but you could create a character that thinks of it as just the natural order of things. Although the natural order of things combined with bringing them back from the dead, that's a little gray area, which I believe gray necromancer is actually sort of a thing. Rating for Animate Dead, am I going to stick with that 5 out of 5? No, I'm going to go 4.9. Yeah, how could it be better? I feel like remove the humanoid and you could do animals. Yeah. How about that? Why not? Moving on to
Arrived at your destination.
location, etc. Academy of Shapers and Binders. Academy of Shapers of Binders was a magic academy for the Red Wizards of Thay. Oh, those guys. School specializes in transmutation magic. Its motto was "Nothing is immutable." I like that it has a motto. That's, to me, this is a thumbs up. Yeah, so that's cool. Headmistress. Okay, we're getting a little Harry Potterish there, although probably a little more on the Slytherin side, I would assume, because of Thay, which I believe not the nicest. As a sort of general rule, the Wizards of Thay, the Red Wizards. Founder female. Okay, so that's nice. Plan to free her lover. Okay, so a little romance there. Okay, likelihood of using this. I like it. It's got a motto. Geez, I think we're going to go 4.7. Yeah, so what did we do today? We did 4 point something, almost a 5 and a 4. So very high marks today for these things. Okay, so, well, there's a red wizard. What did I look here? Academy of Shapers and Binders. I guess this is what it looks like. What is this from? Huh. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Apparently. Let's move on to...
Arrived at your destination.
If you are unfamiliar with this episode, again, episode 9, jumping in, you weirdo. I will take those 3 things I just rated and jam them together, or jelly them together, if you prefer, into some sort of strange scenario that you could perhaps use for a campaign, use for a backstory, just use for imagination purposes. I've called this one Undead School Supplies. So, the Academy of Shapers and Binders is a magical school that focuses on the branch of magic called Transmutation, as we know. An adult bronze dragon will often spend long periods of time in humanoid form. Yeah, sometimes entire lifetimes, actually. And in this case, the headmaster of the school just so happened to have changed shape years prior, and when a terrible accident undid all transmutation, magic in the entire school, he was found out. Oh my. Yeah, because I guess they'll do it in secret. The same accident meant that suddenly the school was overrun by undead. Ooh. One of the professors was experimenting with the spell Animate Dead every day for years. And the end results was rather than carefully disposing of these monstrosities, he would use his very powerful transmutation abilities to turn them into various school supplies. Suddenly, chalk and inkwells and mortarboards all throughout the school reverted back to their undead forms all at once. Imagine that, if you will. Fortunately, the adult Dragon was powerful enough to beat them back without loss of life, thus proving that despite his deception, he was the right man or dragon for the job. Folks, yes, that's this is a if I need to get a new earbud because this one always falls out. It's like it's not a very good one. And I need that because I play through the TV. If you hear me, if you see me touching my ear repeatedly, it's pushing it back in, okay? Again, probably a professional would edit that out, but what is this, amateur hour? What is this, amateur hour? Okay, what did I look here? Zombie School. Yep. Zombie School. Gotta be the name of a movie, right? Upcoming Korean movie Zombie School. What was the one with the kids? Oh yeah, there was a fun comedy. I think it was with Charlie Day, where it was like all the kids got zombie-itis at a school. That was a good one. So for that movie, 5 out of 5. Let's move on to questions and answers. So episode 9, which means we're one away from when I can start pulling these viewer questions from the Underdark below. So please leave questions in the comments, and I will start pulling from there. In the interim, I have been pulling them from various Facebook groups I am a member of, D&D related ones, obviously, where people will post questions, and sometimes I'll go on there and scope some out and throw an answer on one or two because it's fun to do. I like it. Obviously, I like DMing, or else I wouldn't be doing this. Yes? Why are obscure alchemical symbols appearing on notice boards throughout the land? Only one symbol per notice board. Alchemists recognize it's their formal notation, but the symbols don't seem to denote any elements. Okay, so this was a very specific question found on a group. I like super specific questions like this, and I included almost the whole thing rather than paraphrasing it. Yeah. The question I have of this question of the person who posted this was, how did they get into a situation where they? Oh, I remember what it was. So, notice boards in role-playing games are a somewhat common element that people will use, specifically more in sandbox games where you can go anywhere and do anything at all times, because then you'll need a sort of central location where I'm going to look at this board and say, oh, okay, this person needs help destroying this monster. Oh, this person lost their cat. Notices that you can pick and choose from. So this is a alchemist specific notice board, and they'll each have a symbol on it. And he or she decided that they wanted a reason for these symbols to appear on this board. So this was my idea. Have you heard of The Amazing Race? Which I've never actually seen. I just sort of know what it is through context clues mostly. Well, these symbols are for the alchemical race. Participants have to travel to these notice boards to prove they visited all these places. And once they have all the symbols, they win not only the race, but they can also unlock the recipe that all these symbols unlock. I don't like that. They can unlock all the symbols that unlock twice using the word unlock. Poorly written by me. Ideally, something that gets your story back on track. Oh yeah, that was one of his other things. He was telling his story, and his players sort of noticed this and just went off on it, loving the idea for some reason. So he was a little worried that it was going to detract from the story he's trying to tell. So, using things like this to get back towards your story, I think are fun to do, fun to sort of twist your brain to try to figure ways to get back to what you're trying to do. I like stuff like that in particular. Ideally, something you want to DM your story deets, and I can maybe help with the formula. Is oh yeah, okay. So apparently I offered to help because that's funny. I do like that sort of twist of mind where you have to take what the players are doing and what they've latched onto, and then have the end result of that thing be what gets you back to your story. I very much like that problem-solving sort of thing. If you consider it a problem that you're away from the story you want to tell, maybe it's not a problem. It very much depends on the type of game that you're trying to run. Folks, guess what?
It's done!
It sure is. We did it. Yeah, so that was episode 9. The end. You can look below for all my notes of this particular episode, as well as contact information, social medias, should that be of interest to you. I will say that because I don't like to ask for subscribers and likes, I instead bribe for them. Yes, should you subscribe to this channel, for every 100 subscribers I get, I will be donating $10 to this lovely organization that combines the best of gaming and helping those with mental health issues. For some reason, had trouble saying that. Yes, so, basically if you're not clicking a couple of buttons, you're a non-D&D style monster. Hmm? Yeah, but seriously, look into them, regardless of what you do here. They're a good organization that helps people. Hey, nothing wrong with that. That will, of course, leave the final thing